The program we want to write this time needs to ask the user for an even number. If the user gives that even number, then it will just print, for example, that number and it will end. However, if it doesn't give an even number, then it will disregard the number it just gave, the integer it just gave, and it will keep on asking, please provide an integer, an even integer, until the user actually does that. Like always, give it a shot, and then we will try to tackle the problem together. IntelliJ IDEA environment, as we have said before, and I have started writing the bare bones, let's say, of the program. What do we have here? We want the user to give us input, so we have the scanner class and the corresponding import statement in order to be able to use scanner. We have also been kind of user-friendly. We say, please provide an even integer, and then we wait on that integer from the user. Assuming that the user will give us an even integer, we will then print thank you for entering the even number, blah, this n number here. So what do we still need to do? We need first of all to check whether the number that was given to us was even. We have already seen how to do that. Recall the even or odd example. We can say easily if the mod n mod 2 is equal to 0, so if the remainder of the integer division of n by 2 is equal to 0, then we are happy, we want to print this statement. What happens if the user doesn't give us an even number? What we want to do, so if we wrote an else, it would be exactly the same things that we have done before. Please, we would say again, please provide an even integer. We would read that number, we would make the test, we would output success, and the program would end. And otherwise we would keep on doing the same thing again and again. So you see that we actually need a loop, because we are repeating the statement again and again. We don't know how many times we will need to repeat it, we only know the condition. And what will that be? So let's first start writing our loop and see how we will need to modify the code we have written down. You may have noticed that IntelliJ IDEA, as soon as I put the end curly over there on line 15, it automatically indented the code that is the body of the loop. So while this is the condition that we actually need, while n is the remainder of the division is not 0, or we could also have said it is 1, it will either be 0 or 1. And you see already that the IntelliJ is complaining that we have not declared n. Now it feels a little bit better. However, still there is a problem, because we declare n here, and on the next line we are checking each value, but the very first time n will not have a value. So one way we could solve this problem is by giving it a value that will actually satisfy this condition, and so we'll make it so that it at least once executes this body. Okay, so let's see what we have done here. It will go the very first time, it will satisfy the condition, so it will go inside. Please provide an integer, we read the integer. What do we do then? Then, if we take the print statement out of the loop, and we don't need the else, of course, either, then it will go again on line 10, check the new value that n has, and here I should have not redeclared n, we want the same n to be everywhere. So it will check again the value of n, and if the new integer that the user gave to us is even, then it will exit the loop. The condition will no longer be satisfied, we can print our happy statement. So this code will actually be fine, it will work. However, here is a detail. Apart from the while loop and the for loop, we also mentioned the do-while loop. When do we use a do-while loop? We use it when we want the the loop body to be executed at least once. And this is exactly the case here. So we are going to transform the do-while loop, the while loop, into a do-while loop. So we will check the condition at the very end. So you see now that we don't necessarily have to give an initial value to n. We should declare it outside the loop, but it doesn't have to have an initial value because it will get a first value on line 12. So now that is a little bit easier to understand, easier to read. So we will go ahead and see how it executes, just to make sure that, to convince ourselves that the basic functionality is there. Like usual, the kind of execution I show in the examples is not extensive testing. This is just to get the heck of how the program behaves. The appropriate testing should always be done, for example, through assertions or through using JUnit. So do not believe that the kind of executions I show here and the examples here are the only values we should use for testing. Let's provide an even integer. Well, let's provide an odd integer and see how the program will behave and how patient it will be with us. It seems to be quite patient, and it seems to also understand that we did give an even integer.